With their extremist sex and gender ideology, the Democrat Party is waging war on reality, war on science, war on children, war on women.
There you have it. The right wing very clearly is leaning into this culture war narrative for campaigning purposes. And it is amazing that they have taken a slogan, a phrase that was really successfully used by Democrats back in 2012 to do their campaigning, war on women. And that was when Republicans were proposing all sorts of right-wing anti-choice legislation. That was when you had Republican lawmakers claiming that if a woman got raped, you wouldn't have to worry about her getting pregnant because her body would have a way of shutting that whole thing down. I mean, it was just a crazy time where Democrats, believe it or not, actually had a successful campaign strategy against the right wing. But unfortunately, that is not how it's playing out this time around. You now have the Republican Party, Donald Trump, in the video that you just watched, essentially co-opting that phrase, war on women, to carry out their culture war against the transgender community. And the real question is, what has the response from the Democratic Party been? Have they offered an alternative to the fear mongering and the hate coming from the Republican Party? And my answer to that is no. But before I make my argument, Cenk, I wanted you to weigh in.
Yeah, he says everything that is the opposite of true. And of course, the audience loves it. And Democrats can't do something as simple as saying this issue of trans girls playing on the wrong sports team, in their opinion, is minuscule. There's like 7 cases in the whole country. So then ask people, why do you think they're trying to distract you? The reason they're trying to distract you is because they're in the middle of robbing you.
Yes.
That's literally what robbers do. They create a distraction so the cops and everyone else looks elsewhere as they pick your pocket. So, but could a Democratic Party do that? No, they're the most incompetent party in the world, and none of them will talk about that.
No, you're exactly right. And look, part of the problem is, in my opinion, Democrats keep giving them like easy talking points. And I'm gonna give an example in just a minute. I think some portion of the audience will probably disagree with me, but do you booze? This is my perspective. But at the same time, there is no alternative to the right-wing culture war. Because Democrats are beholden to the same corporate interests, they have their hands tied behind their backs. They're not going to aggressively and forcefully campaign on the economic populism that would do well, not just with Democratic voters, but also independent voters and possibly even some Republican voters. Remember, there were Republican voters who said they were willing to vote for Bernie Sanders if it were between Sanders and Trump in the 2016 election. Economic populism works, right? At the same time, I'm not saying to ignore what the damage that's being done with the GOP weighing in on the culture war so aggressively. You have to have a strong economic message that is inclusive and makes it abundantly clear that we fight for everyone. But we have not been seeing that from Democrats. We haven't seen a strong alternative to the hate mongering and the fear mongering coming from the GOP. I want to give you a little more from Trump's speech. This is during his Michigan rally over the weekend. And then I'll give you an example of what I think does not play well in response to the kind of rhetoric we're seeing with Republican campaigning. Let's watch.
President, I was proud to issue the world's first ban on critical race theory. Joe Biden rescinded that order immediately. But when we retake Congress, Republicans must ban critical race theory in our schools, ban it in our military, and ban it in every part of our federal, state, and local governments. Furthermore, America's moms and dads must be given a veto over anyone teaching far-left gender theories to their children in school without parental consent. The Republican Party is now the party of American women and American children, and we will protect women in sports, and not allow allow men to enter into the women's game.
Oh, it's interesting. I am curious if Trump believes in protecting women from sexual misconduct, if he believes in protecting wives from being brutalized and raped by their husbands, which he was alleged to do to Ivana Trump. She wrote about that in her book. But apparently the war on women is coming from the left, allegedly. But again, I mean, what's the response from Democrats? I haven't seen a robust response. I haven't seen anything nearly aggressive enough to, respond to the hatred we're hearing from people like Donald Trump. But more importantly, again, an alternative. So I want to give you an example of something that every time I see something like this, I think of Homer Simpson stepping on a rake repeatedly where it hits his face, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have seen The Simpsons where that happens, but it just reminds me of Democrats. So one example that the GOP has now taken advantage of was a series of tweets coming from Dr. Michelle Morse. She's the chief medical officer at the New York City Department of Health. And rather than, she's trying to talk about something that's very serious, very important, right? Which is the mortality rate for women while they give birth, which is incredibly high, especially among Black women, okay? But while she's trying to put her statement out there, she's trying to be so careful to make sure that she's being gender inclusive that all right, let me just give you the tweets. She says, the urgency of this moment is clear. Mortality rates of birthing people are too high. But okay, let me continue. And babies born to Black and Puerto Rican mothers in this city are 3 times more likely to die in their first year of life than babies born to non-Hispanic white birthing people. Look, I don't know what the real, I'm obviously speculating. I'm speculating that she doesn't want to say mothers because mothers is gendered and she's worried about offending birthing people, really? Come on.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what she's referring to. Others have used it as well, the phrase. Look, Donald Trump's a hilarious clown. So when he does we're in favor of the American women and American children. And I thought he was gonna go to American cats and American dogs. Oh, you're in favor of the American children, are you? So it's very easy to ridicule him and to go in a different direction, right? But Anna's 100% right. When we start saying birthing people, as opposed to mothers, no, you sound crazy. And so I know you're not, and I know you're trying to be more inclusive, but that inclusivity has a price, okay? So it's not actually being more inclusive because in the real world, if you say to me, hey, could non-female people birth human beings? Yes. Do I want them to have the equal rights? Yes. Right? But if you say to me, hey, let's force everyone to stop saying mother because there's 7 birthing people who are not mothers. No, I'm not gonna, that's nuts. You know why? It's gonna drive everyone away from you. And it's gonna lead to a situation where it's harder to win those rights that we're all fighting for rather than easier to win. The minute you say that someone's not a mom, they're a birthing person, people are gonna say that's different, it's change, it doesn't make any sense, we don't need it.
It's worse than that though.
They're gonna hate you for it, I'm keeping it real.
Let me just jump in. It's just, look, as a woman, and look, for me, it's not even like, oh, I don't wanna be inclusive and I don't wanna think of transgender people. It's the phrasing, it just makes you sound like a weird object that you're a vessel and nothing more. Birthing people just sounds weird. If I were pregnant and someone referred to me as a birthing person, I would feel like, why are you calling me that? You know what I'm saying? It's just, yeah.
It almost sounds right wing. That's how they think of moms, as birthing people, right? And it doesn't, guys, it doesn't matter if you think it's slightly more inclusive and that you're gonna cover 13 more people in the country with that statement. You're driving away millions of voters for no reason because you sound ridiculous. Nobody calls it a birthing person. You made that up 3 seconds ago at Oberlin. And so when you say that, people think this person is not like me. This person is weird, and I don't want to go in that direction, okay? So, okay, you could fly that flag if you want to, but I don't want to lose all of these seats and lose the rights that those folks actually need because you wanted to feel self-congratulatory that you included 7 more people in your absurd new phrase. Okay, but finally back to what we should be doing. I was on a right-wing podcast on Friday, Patrick Bet-David, and it was a great conversation, and it went really well. And I partly tell you that because I talked about economic populism a lot during that conversation. And you know what happened? People were totally unfamiliar with it. Like the callers, other people in the studio, they'd never heard of it. They were like, whoa, oh, that's interesting. So you believe other things on social issues, but on economic issues, you agree with higher wages. And for some right wingers, it discombobulated them and it made them take a position where they're arguing for income inequality. Like income inequality is not that bad. The CEO should have 10,000 times more than you have, right? And people don't like that. It forces them in a bad spot because they are in a bad spot. We're the good guys trying to get you wages and healthcare. And even right-wing callers and viewers can see that. But instead of going in that incredibly productive direction, which would make a giant difference in the lives of birthing people, we're gonna call people birthing people and drive everyone away. Please stop punching yourself in the face. That's all I'm asking for.
Absolutely, and I must correct myself. It was Sideshow Bob, not Homer Simpson, who kept stepping on the rake. So I wanted to be clear about that. Thank you to Michael Napin for that correction.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.